Welcome to Celebration Generosity. My name is Dave Ferguson. This is John Ferguson. We're brothers, and we're also the co-founding pastors of Community Christian Church. And today is a very special day, not just because of Celebration Generosity, but it's also the 10th anniversary of Celebration Generosity. You might be able to tell we're not coming to you from Chicago anywhere, but we're actually in Nicaragua, one of the homes of our four teams, the Compassion Team.
You know, I love this day because it gives us the chance to once again be one church with one vision on one mission together. And so this Sunday, every single dollar that you give will go to the four teams that are doing incredible work all over the world. And you know, in the last 9 years, we've given away over $4.5 million in those 9 Sundays on the first Sunday of our fiscal year.
We're in the middle of a great series called Simplify. And throughout this series, we've been talking about how you can unclutter your soul. And one great way for you to unclutter your soul and to leave a legacy is through the practice of generosity. Now, even though I'm in Nicaragua, I know you back home, you got an envelope, so I want you to go ahead and grab that envelope. Fill out your name, and then your email, and your phone, and then also what location you're a part of. So if you could do that right now, that'll be a great help to us later on.
In a little while, you'll hear more about the great work that God is already doing right here in Nicaragua. But first, we want to let you hear from Community 412. You know, Community 412 is a ministry most of us are familiar with. We've been doing incredible work mobilizing Christ followers to be agents of justice and compassion and love in local communities, under-resourced communities throughout Chicagoland. You'll also get to hear from Rhoda Lynn. Rhoda Lynn is the principal at Frontline Academy, which is a part of Frontline Ministries in the Philippines. You'll love hearing her story of actually growing up at Frontline, but also the stories of the children that she's had the opportunity to impact over the years. So let's hear from Community 412 and Frontline.
My name is Kirsten Strand, and I'm the director of Community 412. It's a very exciting year for Community 412 this year. We're celebrating our 15th anniversary of working in East Aurora and our 10th anniversary of working in Joliet. It was exactly 15 years ago this month that I sat down with Francisco de los Santos, the principal at Brady Elementary, and we dreamed about doing a gift mart.
15 years ago, I had the great opportunity of meeting Kirsten Strand. She knocked on my door. She came into I had a meeting. I didn't know where this was going. I knew that then, after we were done with our meeting, that this was going to make an impact in our school.
What I loved about that gift mart was an opportunity for people to come in and not just get toys, but to really interact in a face-to-face way with volunteers from our church and do it in a way that provided dignity for those families. You could just see the joy on their faces when they could see a toy sitting there on the shelf and know that is the perfect thing for my child, as opposed to having someone kind of show up on their doorstep with a toy that may or may not be exactly what their child was looking for. At that moment, I knew that we were onto something kind of special. And as we're preparing for our 15th Gift Mart this year, we're going to be holding it in 5 different locations, and there will be 10 different schools participating, with more schools always kind of in the background ready to get involved.
If we can give, someone else is needing that. And so that opportunity to just be able to take from our heart and give to the members of the community. I know for the families, the look on their faces as they were able to be here and to get gifts for their children. The kids had a great time in the other rooms where they didn't see what was happening. They don't even know what their parents bought. It's a real surprise for them. And being able to do that for these children is second to none.
For me, as a principal, it's like getting a 2-for-1. We are able to bring happiness to our students and our parents. And not only that, every single penny, every single dollar that is spent on those gifts come right back to our building. And I don't know if you can see this beautiful library. All that money has gone into filling up all the shelves. It has gone into student supplies, anything that we need.
And so over the years, we've developed book clubs, parent mentor programs, tutoring and extracurricular activities. We run a chess club and a dominoes club, and lots of different ways that our volunteers have been able to come in and come alongside students and staff at the school to really help them meet needs that they identify as things that they think we could help them do.
I have many students that have benefited in many ways. And one of them in particular I can think of is a little guy that started in kindergarten here years ago. He belongs to a tutoring club where Community 412 volunteers come in, and so making those strong bonds has really changed this child's life. You can see him now and compare him to where he was 5 years ago or so, 6 years ago. He has just been, he wants to come to school, he wants to see the mentor, he wants to be involved, which wasn't the case at the beginning. That whole partnership now, it kind of like went the extra mile.
This is a big year for Community 412, and so Celebration Generosity is going to be a crucial step to helping us make our dreams come true this year. And some of those include, we are planning to start an early childhood program for homeless children at Hesed House. We'll be running a preschool 2 nights a week. We're also going to open a citizenship tutoring center at our Aurora location, where refugees and immigrants can come and help get training and practice for the citizenship test that they need to take. And then in Joliet, we've just trained some brand new Kids Hope directors, so we're hoping to expand our Kids Hope mentoring program in our Joliet schools. And we're very excited this year to be able to launch Community 412 Chicago. And we're going to do that by partnering with Palmer Elementary School in the Albany Park neighborhood of Chicago. Palmer Elementary is a school that serves about 900 kids, 80% of whom are low income and 70% of whom come from refugee and immigrant families. As someone who has been on the ground for the past 15 years with Community 412, I can say the generosity of this church has been phenomenal, and the things that it has allowed us to accomplish over the past 15 years are beyond any wild expectations we could have had. We often can throw up our hands and say, what can I possibly do to help? And contributing to Celebration Generosity and the work that we're doing through Community 412 is one way to make a small difference in a world of problems that can sometimes feel really overwhelming. And whether it's a small step or a large gift, everything that you give to Community 412 will help us to further our mission of uniting people to restore communities right here in Chicagoland.
My name is Rhoda Lynn. Most people call me Dudes. I've been the director of Frontline Christian Academy for 8 years. I think I had one of the best childhoods ever. We lived in a 7-foot by 21-foot trailer, 4 kids, and then my mom and dad adopted 1 off the streets. We were traveling all over the Philippines. I remember singing 6 years old, 7 years old in prisons, at concerts, at our gospel tent meetings. Growing up, I didn't know there was any other way until maybe we started coming back to the States and visiting churches and friends and family. And one time I asked my dad, so when are we actually gonna live in a house? And Dad was like, well, we do live in a house. No, one without wheels. And Dad was like, don't worry, honey, tomorrow I'll take the wheels off. Frontline Christian Academy started as a bunch of us kids who were traveling the nation together in doing these gospel tent meetings. We were really a bunch of kids homeschooling together. And when we started taking children off the streets several years ago, we knew that in order to influence them long term, we had to be able to control the learning environment, because the public education system in the Philippines leaves a lot to be desired. At the school, at FCA, 20 to 30% of our students are always from the Face the Children program. I think the partnership with Frontline and Community Christian Church has been unique. It's been more like family, it's been like community. When we come and visit, it's like we're kind of coming home. The children that we serve at Face the Children look forward to every summer when Community Christian sends out a team and they know, oh, she's coming back, oh, he's coming back. It's been a real family thing, and I love how it feels like we're just on the Jesus mission together. Since last year's Celebration Generosity, we've seen 2 new church campuses open. We've opened 4 new house churches this year, and we're looking to open more. We have also been able to bring in more kids off the streets. You've helped keep our schools' doors open. We've been able to reach more children with the love of Jesus Christ. A few teachers have actually come to Christ because of that, and it's just amazing to listen to their testimonies of how they met Christ at school. Looking forward, we hope to see growth in all the 4 components that Frontline serves in. We hope to be able to take in more children from off the streets and give them the loving family that every kid deserves. We hope to be able to open more churches, church sites, and social enterprises and sewing factories for the communities who really need it. Right now, one of the biggest projects that we have ongoing is our new school.
Frontline Christian Academy is growing and having a huge impact on the lives of young people and their families and the community around us here, including our children from Face the Children. Frontline now has recently acquired a new property, and we've got plans to put up much better classrooms, more classrooms to serve a larger number of people, and particularly with a focus on the marginalized and impoverished.
Face the Children, our children's refuge center, actually works with abandoned, abused, or dangerously neglected children. When we find a child that fits any, or in some cases all, of those categories, right now we have almost 40 kids living full-time. They receive 3 meals a day. They receive the family that they always wanted. They get to go to school. They get connected with our church and the ministries. The transformation is so extreme where they begin to do ministry to the impoverished communities. So we have some of our teenagers in Face the Children. They go to our feeding programs and feed the kids that they used to be one of those kids. We found Rachel when she was about 2 years old. She was very malnourished. Her father was using her as like a begging tool. Her hair was falling out. She's actually blind in one eye. She was so malnourished. We were able to get permission to take her in. She's been living with us for about 7 years now, and it's almost like she isn't the same kid. She's got one of the best smiles ever. She just lights up a room. The kids we serve are our kids at Face the Children. They finally are able to not just, oh, someone visits and never comes back, or, oh yeah, I met this cool person, but I'm never gonna see him again. They're able to actually build relationships with the teams that come over. And that means so much to them. That means it's like having the extended family that we try to provide them with. And you guys don't know how much it means to me. It makes you feel fulfilled because you're living for more than just yourself. You're living for others. For me, it's not even a question, who wouldn't want to be part of something bigger than yourself? Why not do something that adds purpose to your life and value to someone else's? Why not contribute to helping one more kid get off the street? That doesn't feel very risky to me.
My name is Jim Melton, and I'm the Global Partnerships Director here at Community. Celebration Generosity is truly one of my favorite times of the year because I get to witness our whole church being on mission for our global partners. We picked Compassion International because they have been proven to be the best long-term alleviation of poverty strategy. Basically, their theory is that when you start with a child at the age of 4 and give them nutrition and health care, the proper education, and the spiritual development they need, that they can be the ones to alleviate poverty in their world. Because of your generosity, we've been able to plant another church in Nicaragua, which means during this past year, over 200 children have been added to the Compassion program. So this past summer, we've had the opportunity to go visit our first church plant in Nicaragua. There's a pastor there named Oscar Torres, who was a former Compassion child and now leads this church, which also has a Compassion program.
Mi nombre es Oscar Torres, tengo la edad de 21 años, estoy pastoreando en la Iglesia Libre de los Valles, en la comunidad El Nin en Nicaragua. Pienso de que los momentos más alegres por los cuales disfruté luego fue que dentro de mi infancia pude ingresar a lo que...
Cuando inicia el programa Compasión, comenzamos a ver a los niños como potenciales, como líderes.
De la iglesia y parte del proyecto de Compasión, se necesitaba mucho esto para estar pastoreando, porque primero vi la teoría y ahora ejerzo en la práctica.
As we walked into Lily of the Valley's church, not only Pastor Oscar, but his whole congregation is there to greet us. And it's not just a, hi, come in, it's songs, it's dances, it's speeches, it's balloons. And for a people who obviously are very, very hardworking, like just serving their community, you can tell the time that's invested just to make sure that we feel welcome. So it's just another sign that, hey, for us, we know that we're truly doing something worthwhile because they show that appreciation.
Acá vienen niños de escasos recursos, como al igual donde crecí habían niños de escasos recursos, al igual que donde crecí. El riesgo de introducirse a una sociedad con malas influencias, posiblemente droga, pandilla, la separación de su familia. Y por eso sirvo acá, de rescatar, de salvar.
Our role as a sponsor is really deeper than picking up a packet and writing out a check for sure. I think until you really go, you don't realize the impact that a letter has in helping the sponsored child develop. While we were in Nicaragua, we had the chance to meet some of the graduates of the program, one of which was studying to be a doctor, and we asked him, what role do the letters play in your journey? Without prompting, the mom pulls out this binder, and it's full of all the letters that he had received throughout his time in Compassion. And seeing that was just further confirmation that we truly have a role as a sponsor to provide love and hope and encouragement. And when we do so, it can truly make a difference and lead children who were previously living in poverty to become doctors. I sponsor a child named Hector at our Nicaragua project, and I had a great opportunity not only to see him at church, but I got to go into his home, which was really cool. I walked into his house, and we send letters and pictures, and as I walked in, there's a picture of me and my daughter on his wall. And so I'm totally amazed and totally shocked. And not only that, but got the opportunity really to meet the dad for the first time. And we got to relate to each other on how we live our lives together. So not only do we see we're making a difference in the life of one child, but the entire family benefits. We never want to stop planting churches because it allows us to go into the poorest of the poor areas and bring more kids into the Compassion program. And so we want to do that again in Nicaragua. But we also have partners in Haiti who we established over the last 4 years, and we don't want to neglect them as well. And so a new program called the Child Survival Program enables mothers to keep their babies healthy and alive up until the time in which they can enter the Compassion program. So we would like to start a Child Survival Program for our partners in Haiti to help the infant children as well as plant the church. And if we do all of that, it means that we'll have impacted over 1,000 children during our 5 years of Compassion.
Thank you, community, Kirsten, Shore, for your generosity.
My name is Patrick O'Connell. I'm the Global Director of New Thing. New Thing is a catalyst for movements of reproducing churches. That means we plant churches just like Community all over the world. Over the last 4 years, God's done some amazing things through New Thing, particularly in the area of global partnerships. We've been able to partner with leaders all over the world to start new networks that lead to new movements that ultimately lead to new churches and helping more people find their way back to God. It's been quite amazing. One of our initiatives at New Thing is to plant churches in the global gateway cities of the world. And these are the cities where there's economic and arts and government and the powerhouses of the world. And so we were privileged to have a group of Africans, in particular Kenyans, join us at Community here for a season. They're part of what we call our Global Residency Program.
The Global Residency has helped me to explore many of the gifts that God has given me. It has enabled me to think bigger and to grow in my vision for God's work.
I feel like my mind has been opened to a different culture, a different people, but the same God. We might look different, we might think different, but we have one God. So my mind has been opened to a much broader, bigger God.
It's just a beautiful thing when we as a church work together towards the same goal. Though we are different from different continents, we find a common place where we can serve God.
Our effort is always to connect with leaders unlike us, that are diverse, that come from different ethnicities, the language groups, countries and regions. And it was our privilege to connect with David Washington, and he's got a fascinating story about his own journey of finding his way back to God. But a few years ago, God called him to plant a church on the south side of the city. Right before he plants that church, he does a leadership residency with us right here at Community. And for about a year, he came to all of our events. He was a part of our team. We helped him draft his first plans for the new church. And we made a friendship that is no doubt going to continue for years ahead.
I grew up here in the Roseland community, and back in the 90s, I was the first chief of the Gangster Disciple Nation, which is one of the biggest gangs in the city. And I came to know Jesus Christ because of the ministry of the Salem Baptist Church of Chicago. When I was at the bottom of my rope, I hoped that God was real, because I said, my lawyer can't get me out of this, nothing natural can get me out of this, but if God is really real, he can get me out of this. And so it began a process of God developing me and helping to disciple me and helping me to learn the Bible. And that led to ministry, full-time ministry for me. When we first started this church plant, I knew that I would need support from others because God did not call us to be gladiators. Gladiators fight alone. God called us to be soldiers, and soldiers fight side by side. The opportunity to do the Leadership Training Center came up. I did that. Obviously, doing that allowed me to build more relationships with more people so that I can get around people who are doing this well and learn what I can learn so that I can be faithful to the call God has placed on my life.
Because of Celebration Generosity, we've been able to do a ton, really. We've been able to do Catalyst communities on 3 new continents. A Catalyst community is an opportunity for leaders to come together and dream ahead. And we help them collaborate. We help them figure out the how and the why to help them start new networks. And those networks lead to new churches. We've been able to start a global residency and actually get residents here to Chicago to train them so that they could go to Johannesburg and plant churches. We've been able to build out a North American team. We didn't have that in place. And now we have a group of leaders in North America who are endeavoring to plant churches with leaders all over this continent. We've got a team that is in Africa that you all have helped start because we could get them there through Celebration Generosity and the funding that you gave us. We have been able to do a ton, and we're just getting started, and we're grateful for it.
Victory for me is not how many people sit in the pews. Victory for me is not how much money is in the bank. Victory to me is that the Great Commission is happening, that disciples are being made. If people are coming to know Jesus and their lives are being changed by that, then I think we're successful. If we take our 5 loaves and our 2 fish and put it in Jesus' hand, Jesus can use that to feed a lot of people. It's about everybody making the contribution that God has blessed them to make so that the kingdom of God can expand.
And so every dollar that's invested in New Thing through Celebration Generosity ultimately goes to helping us plant new churches. And so while we're very happy with where we are at 1,300, we're dreamers, we're visionaries, and we want to plant 10,000 new churches in the next few years. And we can only do that with the support that we receive through Celebration Generosity.
You've just had the opportunity to learn about the amazing work of the 4 teams of Celebration Generosity. I mean, some of them are doing awesome stuff in your own backyard, some of them in other parts around the world. What I want to challenge you to do is to give generously, whether it's to one team or all 4 teams. Now, for some of you, this may be your very first week or second week here at Community, or maybe you're like John and I, and this is your 10th Celebration Generosity. I want to challenge all of us to give generously.
So here's our chance to express our love by simply being generous. Now you can designate your generous gift to 1, 2, 3, or all 4 teams. Just simply fill out the amount and you'll be able to turn it in just a few moments.
John and I were talking before we got on to talk to you, and both our families have decided that today we're going to give our largest gift of the year. I want to challenge you to think about doing the same. What if you gave your largest gift of the year today? What greater need is there? And what a great way to both unclutter your soul and to leave a legacy.